Far, far away, in a hidden corner of the world known only to the brave and the dreamers, there was a magical place where the land sparkled with golden glimmers, and the trees whispered songs that could only be heard at dusk. At the top of a mountain covered in bluish mist stood a shining castle, a beacon of hope. This was the Secret Kingdom, a land guarded by magical creatures for thousands of years. And it was precisely there that, on a morning with a clear sky and gentle wind, a golden light rose up to touch the clouds. The stars began to twinkle, even with the sun high above, announcing an event as old as time itself. The beginning of the great tournament of the magical realms. A tournament where the bravest, kindest, and most curious creatures would gather to face challenges filled with wit, courage, and magic. Not to prove who was the strongest, but to remember that true greatness lies in the hearts of those who dare to believe in the impossible. From every corner of the magical world, the participants began to arrive. Some came from the heights of snow-covered mountains, where dragons nest among clouds as soft as cotton. Others emerged from the oldest forests, where trees speak in whispers and flowers tell secrets to those who know how to listen. They also came from singing rivers, floating islands, and hidden caves beneath the earth. Tiny glowing creatures flew around, announcing each new traveler's arrival. A tiny dragon with ruby-bright scales, a girl made of clouds who floated gently wherever the breeze carried her, a miniature sprite with wings as fast as lightning, a young sorceress who radiated pure light with every movement, and a great ogre with a kind gaze and a gentle smile. Each brought their own story, dreams, and small fears, but all of them shared one hope: to live the most marvelous adventure of their lives. The first challenge awaited them at sunset, as the last golden rays painted the treetops. Before them rose a vast maze made entirely of crystal. Its tall walls reflected everything around them, multiplying their images in thousands of mirrors, creating false paths and corners that led nowhere. Each time someone tried to move forward, the reflections shifted, as if they were alive, playing tricks on their minds and senses. But the maze tested more than just wit. It tested patience and the ability to trust one's own steps. Only those who could read the signs of the light, the subtle glow showing the true path, would find the exit. And so, among glimmers and distant echoes, the creatures advanced cautiously, feeling the air grow colder, the reflections watching them, and each step bringing them closer to discovering who they truly were. After escaping the maze, the travelers arrived at the banks of a river unlike any they had ever seen. Its waters were so clear they mirrored the sky like glass, yet its currents whispered ancient words, soft as caresses and dangerous as traps. This was the River of Whispers, known for speaking to travelers and trying to confuse them. The voices sounded sweet and tempting, promising easy paths and hidden treasures. But only those who listened with their hearts could tell truth from deception. Some currents sang lullabies, others told stories that seemed to recall each creature's childhood. It was a beautiful place, but filled with risks. To cross it, they had to ignore the water's words and find a safe path made of floating stones that appeared and disappeared among the waves. With a sky painted in lilac and orange tones, the creatures advanced, some flying, some leaping, others clinging to the branches of weeping willows along the shore. And with each step, They learned that listening to silence was more important than heeding the river's deceitful words. Just when they thought the danger was behind them, a thick fog began descending from the nearby mountains, covering everything in a white, dense shroud. In front of them, through the mist, a dark shadow appeared. It was large, undefined in shape, with eyes that shone like silver moons. At first, the travelers felt a jolt of fear. Was it an enemy? A legendary monster? But as the figure came closer, they saw it was a massive wolf made of smoke and mist, its body forming and dissolving with every step. It was Shadow Soil, the silent guardian of the forbidden forests. Though it looked fearsome, its eyes radiated an ancient calm, like one who has seen many moons and knows all the forest's secrets. Without a word, it stopped in front of them, studied each face, and finally pointed its snout toward a narrow path between the trees, an invisible trail hidden from ordinary sight. And so, without a single sound, it vanished into the mist, leaving behind a scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. After their encounter with the Mist Guardian, the brave adventurers entered a hidden valley, nestled among rolling hills, where the ground was covered in silver mist that danced with the wind. There, in the middle of the valley, stood a mountain that did not touch the ground. Its rocky roots floated suspended in the air, wrapped in small clouds like a necklace of white pearls. The mountain, bluish-grey in colour, slowly shifted position, floating at will, its peak sometimes disappearing behind the high clouds. The air was filled with a sense of ancient mystery. It was said the mountain had been created by a fallen star thousands of years ago, and only those who knew how to cooperate could reach its summit. There were no marked paths, no stairs, no easy trails, only hanging roots, shifting stones, and patches of solid mist to step on. Those who tried to climb it alone were blown back down by mischievous wind gusts. So, the magical creatures united. Each one offered their gift for the others. The Cloud Girl created soft misty paths. The tiny dragon lit small flames to brighten dark corners. The fast sprite detected vanishing roots. And the ogre lifted the smaller ones with his strong hands. It was a test of trust and teamwork, where every step upward was a shared victory. And as they climbed, the world around them turned into a sea of golden clouds glowing under the last rays of the day. When they finally reached the summit of the floating mountain, they beheld a sight no mortal eye had ever seen. There stood the legendary Garden of Wishes, a vast field covered in radiant flowers that seemed made of liquid light. The petals changed colour with the wind's movement, from gold to blue, from violet to pearly white. At the centre of the garden stood a massive golden-leafed tree, its branches stretching like arms caressing the sky. Each creature that stepped into that place felt a deep peace, as if all fear, weariness, or sadness had melted away. But this garden was not only a gift for the eyes and heart, it held an ancient challenge. Floating in the air was a riddle whispered by the breeze. What grows when shared, and vanishes when kept only for oneself? The answer was not found in books or spells, but deep within the soul. The wind's murmurs seemed to want to give the answer, but only those who had learned the value of friendship along the way could understand it. And so, remembering all the adventures, the dangers faced together, and the help they had given one another, the garden knew they understood the answer, even if they didn't say it aloud. The flowers burst into sparks of 1,000 colours, and the tree's golden leaves chimed like tiny bells, celebrating the triumph of the heart over loneliness. Beyond the Garden of Wishes was an ancient cave carved from blue crystal rock. Inside, a narrow passage led to the most important chamber of the entire tournament, the Hall of the Mirror of Courage. It was a place so silent that even thoughts seemed to echo off its walls. In the center of the room stood an immense mirror, so clear it reflected not only the outside of those who stood before it, but their inner selves. This was the hardest challenge of all, for it wasn't a test of strength or skill, but of personal bravery. Those who dared look at their reflection would see their greatest fear, the thing they hid the most, what they had never told anyone. And in that moment, they had to decide whether to turn away or face it. Each creature stepped forward, one by one, and each saw what scared them most: loneliness, failure, rejection, darkness, being forgotten. But in their hearts, they remembered the moments they helped one another, the hands that lifted them, the smiles shared in hard times. And so, one by one, they overcame their fears, not with force, but with the certainty that they were not alone, that courage is not the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it. And when the last of them crossed, the mirror gently shattered into thousands of tiny stars that rose into the sky like fireflies, lighting the way to the great celebration. That night, under a sky so full of stars it looked like a carpet of diamonds, the great coronation ceremony was held in the central square of the secret kingdom. Magical creatures from all realms gathered, adorning the streets with floating lights and gentle melodies that seemed to come from invisible instruments. The square was decorated with glowing flower garlands and sparkling fountains that danced in the air like silver threads. At the center, on a stone platform covered in golden leaves, appeared Queen Star, the guardian of that hidden kingdom. Her gown looked like it was made from pieces of the night sky, and her eyes held the glow of 1,000 constellations. She raised her scepter and, with a clear, serene voice, announced that, for the first time in the tournament's history, there would be no single winner. Because, in that adventure, it hadn't mattered who arrived first or who was strongest, but who cared for others, who shared their strength and joy, and who never stopped believing. And so, instead of a crown, each received a shining star that floated above their heads, reminding them they would always be welcome in that kingdom, and that each of them in their own heart was a true hero. At dawn, as the first rays of light touched the distant mountains, and the songs of magical birds woke the forest, the brave adventurers began their journey home. The magical creatures of the realms bid them farewell with joy, amid harp music and glowing paths. Each one returned to their land, carrying not only memories of the challenges they had overcome, but also the bonds of friendship they had forged. Since then, in every corner of the magical world, when a soft breeze brushes the fields or a shooting star crosses the sky in silence, the story of that unforgettable tournament is told. A story that teaches that true magic is not found in the most powerful spells or hidden treasures, but in the bravery to face your own fears, in kindness shared, and in knowing that no adventure is worth having if lived alone. And so, the Tournament of the Magical Realms was written into the stars, waiting for new dreamers to one day write their own story. And that's the end of today's magical adventure. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to like and follow us so you don't miss our next journey full of fantasy, friendship, and fun. See you soon in another magical tale.